Welcome to another episode of the Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. My guest today, Tracy West. She is an environmentalist, 6 years vegan, and an optimistic CEO and co-founder of an international reforestation charity, the Word Forest Organization. Tracy is an author, broadcaster, and passionate advocate for simple green living. Stick around. I want to introduce her to you. Hi, Tracy. How are you?
Hey, I am good. I'm good. It's Sunday evening and the world is at peace. So I'm happy with that.
Okay, so you just said Sunday evening. So I am in Albuquerque and right now it's 10 o'clock in the morning. So where are you?
10 in the morning. Wow. Gosh, if we could only rewind our days, that would be quite handy, wouldn't it? So I'm in Lyme Regis, which is on the Jurassic coast in Dorset. It's a tiny little town, really, about 3,800 people and quite a lot of vegans, which is really exciting. But yeah, quite a tiny place on the coast.
Awesome. Awesome. Now tell me and my viewers, how did you come to veganism?
It's an interesting question, isn't it? Everyone's story is so different. So I'm an environmentalist. I've been an environmentalist for a very long time. And the thing that I didn't really know was the footprint of animal agriculture. And I think the thing that tipped me into making that shift from being mainly or plant-based predominantly, but just with veggie food, into going into veganism was watching Cowspiracy. And I felt like someone had gone, lift your eyes up, girl, look at this. And I was absolutely astonished. And I was already a writer anyway on sustainable living things and environmental things. And I was disgusted with myself that I had somehow missed that memo that said what was going on in the world, really. But when you watch Cowspiracy, you realize, and many other films subsequently, you realize that whole secret, that whole thing is kept so quiet. It's kept, that message is kept out of the limelight. And it's a real startling thing when it comes along and goes, listen, look, can you not see this? And then everything kind of falls into place. So I think within 24 hours of watching that film, I said to Simon, I mean, we both saw it and we both felt the same way. And we just went, right, that's it. Last bits. Let's just sort this out. Dairy, let's get out and find some cheese. And this was 5 years ago when there really weren't that many options and things for in that kind of field, really, and butters and all that kind of thing. But we made the shift with all the other stuff and we were really happy with our food. We just hadn't got that last memo, literally, until we saw it. And I was just completely and utterly shocked. Yeah. And you beat yourself up for it, don't you, as well? You just think, come on, I'm pretty switched on. What's going on here? Why? How did I miss it? How did I not see that thing? And why didn't I drill down into it more? I think when you have that dawning, when everything sort of falls into place for you, then you question lots of other things too. And I think, I mean, now, gosh, from back then, now there's so much more awareness, and thank goodness for that. My only regret about being fully plant-based in everything, in my food, in my fashion, in the charity that we run, in socializing, in clothes that I wear. Why didn't I do this years and years ago, decades ago? And I think it would have been just, it was a knowledge thing. It was an understanding thing. I just hadn't stopped long enough to really explore just the way life was, and to answer those questions. I didn't realize I needed to ask those questions. We assume so much, don't we? Thank goodness for interviews like this and for raising awareness and making people go, I hadn't thought about that before. And then not making them feel guilty for not thinking that before, because that's it. You carry that guilt, don't you, as well? Why didn't I see this? Why didn't I understand? But I've long let that go. And I just step forward with positivity, optimism, and a good, happy filled tummy with gorgeous plant-based food.
And that's exactly what happened to me. I found out, I got mad, I got angry because of the same thing. Why didn't I know? Why didn't I make the connection before? And then I'm like, okay, So my goal and my passion now is to advocate for veganism and to bring forth that there are people out there who are living this life and it's sustainable and we could do it, and why wouldn't we? Can you tell me a little bit about the Word Forest Organization?
You certainly can. So it kind of stepped on from being an environmentalist, really working out the ways that we can make the planet a bit healthier, take care of the wildlife and the creatures on it, remove the CO2 out of the sky as well that's causing us so many problems. And it's planting trees, it's planting trees. So Word Forest actually plants the majority of its trees in the tropics. I say the majority because we do plant a few in the UK, but really it's a tiny token amount. And it's really just to start some conversations here about why we need to look after the tropics and plant trees there. And the simple reason is trees planted in Kenya, so we plant them in Kenya, and trees planted anywhere near the equator can grow up to 10 times faster than anywhere else on the planet. So in terms of mitigating climate change and, ripping the CO2 and other pollutants out the atmosphere, they're just the beasts, I have to talk about wonderful trees like a mango tree. Did you realize a mango tree at 5 years old over in Kenya will be about 12 feet tall and have 100 pieces of fruit on it?
Wow.
That's amazing, isn't it?
There's
another tree called a casuarina at 5 years old. It's like 25, 30 feet tall. It's huge. And they'll, on average, have locked in about 1/4 of a ton of CO2. So from the environmental point of view, they're amazing. But from a food point of view, they're incredible. You've got cashew trees, you've got moringa. Oh, moringa is like a tree full of spinach. Can you just imagine a tree full of spinach? It's amazing.
Yum.
And it's so good. So you've got food alleviating hunger, and with some education, which is the other bit. So we build classrooms and facilitate education as well. If you can count out a money exchange, if you understand how to do that, you can alleviate poverty as well by taking the excess commodities from the forest to market. So, it's like a win-win for the planet, for people, obviously for wildlife. Oh, it's just the best job I've ever done in my life. And my husband, Simon, and I co-founded the charity in April 2017. And again, a bit like veganism, I wish I'd done this for the last 10, 20 years. I really do. But we're just in our 4th year. We've planted enabled the planting of about 1/3 of a million trees across Kenya, and built several educational buildings for schools, and done lots of women's empowerment and all sorts of things. And it's just a kind of a holistic raft of stuff that we do to make the world a better place. And it's wonderful. It's an amazing thing.
That is so wonderful and so commendable of both of you, because trees are so important to us, to the planet, to everything living on the planet.
You are absolutely right. I always think that it's funny that we have a documentary. We shot it last year. We got some funding together to shoot a documentary because I wanted to kind of tell the story of why planting trees in the tropics was so important, why supporting the people was so important. And we released it in October, the end of last year, October time. And we actually managed to get it narrated by Kate Winslet, which is just amazing. I know, even today I still pinch myself. But the film is called, when we were working out what to call it, it was obvious. I said, well, we call it, the thing that I say all the time is that trees are the key to solving so many of the world's problems, not just ripping the CO2 out the sky. It's hunger, it's poverty, it's habitats, it's species becoming extinct. It's like tons of things. And trees sit at the heart of it all. So the film is actually called #Trees Are the Key. There you go. Right? It's like
simple
and
to the point.
And it's free to watch, by the way. So if you go on to treesarethekey.com, you can sit and have a watch and see what that positive impact is. It's just wonderful. And obviously, because we're environmentalists, because we're vegan, we run as a vegan charity. And it's weird because until recently, I hadn't really kind of made that connection. But the only food in the office is vegan. When anyone comes to have a presentation, everything is vegan. When we do an event, it's all vegan. And when we did markets, obviously we're in COVID and lockdown still, but when we had markets, the only markets we did were vegan. And it's like, I kind of think we're really sort of a very plant-based, loving, environmental charity. So we've sort of, and most of our core team are either vegan or veggie. And we're kind of encouraging those that, you know, want to learn more about vegan food to just come and enjoy some food with us, drop into the office, have something to eat, have some soup, have some dal, you know, and just kind of go, wow, I didn't realize the food could be this good. I can see why you're doing it. You know, we're not depriving anyone of anything. If anything, we're enhancing their taste buds and the world and the planet with it. So it's like, it's a no-brainer, you know? So
Right.
Thank you for asking about that. You know, I think constantly back to my time pre-vegan and when we were veggie, you know, veggie for quite a good long while. And it was you don't sort of peg yourself anywhere particularly. You know, you if you're not holding on to that guilt, if you're not holding on to those other bigger, wider reasons, if you don't realize it, you know, if you haven't had that light shone for you, you don't realize. So I think even still today, with all the great talk there is about being vegan, we've got Veganuary coming up, we've got all sorts of stuff in magazines galore, in our you know, news agents. There are still some people who just haven't had that memo yet. Right. And I think I prefer to say to them, you can be a better environmentalist if you lean towards the green and take a look at this area of your life that you've maybe not considered before. And here's why you need to consider it. Because, you know, I was that person who just really didn't get it. I didn't see it. And now I see it. It's like a glaringly great big spotlight going, hello. But we have to still encourage people to come to the party. Yes. I think we stand a really great chance of getting more people on board when we can tempt them with great things that they can do to enhance all their activities. You know, I have to tell you this. This has just reminded me, Simon and I went to a climate emergency conference last year or the year before, might have been the year before, okay, up in Birmingham. And we went there and I just was so excited because I thought we're going to be surrounded by people that are just going, yes, let's do this thing. And we were, and it was great until the food came out and they had this whole massive, great big table full of meat and fish. And there were, from about 200 people, they said, can the veggies and vegans just put their hands up, please? And there were like 7 of us in this room. And we all looked at each other going, this is a climate emergency meeting and there's meat on the table? What's going on? And the bit that really upset me at the end of the meeting was there was tons of meat and fish left over. So I went to the back when the conference was kicking off. I said, okay, who's at the nearest soup kitchen? Who works nearby? How can we get this food to other people? And they were all just saying, I don't know. And I thought, this is crazy. 60 chickens have died to make these skewer things. And there's just not that joined up thinking. And I was astonished. So there you go, an emergency climate conference. And they hadn't sorted the memo out about the food. We've still got such a long way to go, Nancy, haven't we? Thank goodness for people like you raising awareness in the way that you do. Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you. I want to say it was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so very much for being on the Vegan Pulse, and we'll talk again.
I would love to have another conversation with you. Let's do this when it's sunny and we can be outside in the garden at our respective times in the day.
Sounds good to me. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us in another episode of the Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Remember, follow us on Facebook, check out our blog, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have a pulse, you have a purpose. Live vegan.